Welcome aboard TED Talks Cruises, the podcast where wanderlust meets wisdom. Join our two hosts on a cruising adventure full of laughter, learning, and luxury. Ken Conan is a cruise rookie. He's wide-eyed, full of questions, and maybe still figuring out which end is aft. Ted Blank is a seasoned cruise expert who's been there, done that, and he even has a preferred deck chair. Each week, Ted and Ken dive into the world of cruising, from picking the right itinerary to insider tips, their personal insights, and behind-the-scenes secrets. Whether you're planning your first cruise or you're a platinum tier cruiser looking for fresh perspectives, TED Talks Cruises brings relatable stories, helpful advice, and plenty of good vibes. So get ready to laugh, learn, and set sail. No passport required.
All right. Hi, welcome. This is Ken Conan and Ted Blank. We're doing a little TED Talks travel today, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorites, Alaska.
We're going to definitely cover Alaska, yeah.
It's very exciting because my expert here, Mr. Ted Blank, just came back from an Alaskan trip a week ago. Am I remembering that right?
Came back a week ago, and I'm going back in about 10 days.
You know the guy likes Alaska when he comes back and
turns right around and goes back.
Right back at it.
Yeah.
So fun.
Well, and it's funny because people always say, well, how can you go back to Alaska so many times? And,
yeah,
you know, for me, there's always something new to see and do there. But just the wonder of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you get up in the morning and you walk outside on your balcony and you just see that incredible scenery that, you know, certainly here in the Midwest we don't have.
Right.
Down south we don't have that kind of scenery, and it's never ending. It's never ending.
Yeah.
And there's so much to do. You know, sometimes people will look at these ports of call and they're tiny little towns. You know, Skagway population 2,000, in the winter the population's like 80.
Yeah.
And there is just so much to see and so much to do. And, you know, one thing that folks, I think, make a mistake when they go to Alaska is that they don't do the shore excursions. They just think, I'm just going to go off and do something on my own.
Yeah.
And you miss so much because there is so much that's beyond the distance you can go on your own 2 feet in these destinations. So it's an amazing place, and I just keep going back. So
I love it. So I'm gonna tell you, I was one of those people. I
was too.
I thought when I showed up in Alaska, we got on the cruise ship out of Anchorage, started cruising, and our first port, you probably remember better than I what it was, but we showed up and I'm like, let's just explore. We don't have to do an excursion or anything. Like we can figure this out.
Oh, yeah.
And we found ourselves like spinning our wheels a little bit. Like the town's super cool, but there's some parks and hikes over here, and there's some bikes we could rent. And so it was like, it was just, I don't know, it was a little overwhelming, to be honest.
It's so different than any place else because, you know, if you go to the Caribbean, even those tiny little islands, or you go to Europe, those big cities you go to, well, it's easy to get around.
Yeah.
There are taxis, there are public transportation, there are folks selling excursions right on the dock. And in Alaska, you know, even with a population of 2,000, there just isn't that much capacity to manage these things.
Right.
And so it is a place where kind of planning ahead, those who do that, I think, have the best experience.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things we do in our agency is we'll talk to folks about excursions and walk them through not just the top excursion, but what's something different or something quirky that you can do. And there's so many. I did a couple cool ones that we can talk about on this last cruise that were totally off the beaten path from what I'd done before. And there's still more there. So I've got a whole different program set up now for 2 weeks from now that I had 2 weeks ago.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So you got to anchor us in. How many times have you been to Alaska, just roughly?
About a dozen.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And you're still, it's amazing to me that you're still loving going there and finding things to do that are fresh.
Yeah.
You know, that just blows me away.
It is. And, you know, it's one of the things that's interesting about Alaska is a lot of people will go back more than once.
Yeah.
And we've talked a little bit about Alaska before, but one thing about Alaska is there are a couple different ways you can see it on a cruise. And one is that kind of shorter 7-day round trip cruise from Seattle.
Yep.
And those are super popular. Very popular with families, with kids, even some multi-generational families, because it's 7 days.
Yeah.
So you can pop in, take a cruise, go back, do it with 5 days of vacation, and everything's good.
Right.
But when you do that, you get kind of the express version. You're not going to see everything on that cruise.
Sure.
And so a lot of folks, and in particular our clients who are maybe a little older, they're retired, you know, it's grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
They want to go back and they want to do a more in-depth experience. And that's where the one-way cruises come in. Those are the cruises that start or end in Anchorage and start or end in Vancouver, Canada. And you can also go to Denali National Park when you do one of those. And all of a sudden, or even the Yukon Territory. So all of a sudden you have a whole new world that opens to you if you have 10 to 16, 17 days.
Yeah.
It's like 2-3 vacations all in one. So those folks who do those shorter 7-day cruises, which are a great sampler for Alaska,
like
come back
sampler.
and they want to do something again.
Yep.
Or they've done the bigger ship or even the medium-sized ship cruises, and they want to go back and they want to do a real in-depth expedition type cruise.
Yeah.
Like where you're going to go to one of the glaciers, but instead of spending just a day there, you might spend 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
Just in like Glacier Bay National Park, for example. So there is so much to do, and it's an onion that you can just kind of keep peeling and keep peeling back. And so, it's a big part of our business. It's an important part of our business, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love helping people find a new way to experience even a place they've been before. But gosh, if they've never been there before, everybody comes back just transformed.
Yeah.
Right? You came back and you're ready to go again, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, my wife Shannon and I went, and to be super honest, she was like,
I was too.
I know you. She was like, honey, I know you want to go because you love the big outdoors, which I do. I love big country.
Yeah.
And I knew Alaska was just going to be like, oh, this is great. And so we came back, and she's like, oh my gosh, we got to go again. And I'm thinking, wow, what happened? This is great. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
great.
like that too. I went with my family and I was like, couldn't we go to Europe or someplace more interesting? But totally converted me as well. So I'm a big Alaska fan.
It's fun. Yeah, Shannon and I have talked about on our next one, maybe doing a smaller ship and doing maybe, I don't know if is it an expedition or tell me a little bit more about those if you don't mind.
That's a big decision that folks have to kind of think about when they're going to Alaska.
Yeah.
What type of a cruise do they want to have? And let's maybe set the base expectation. If you want to see Southeast Alaska, which in my opinion is where the coolest stuff is, you're going to go on a cruise.
Okay.
Full stop, no other options. So you're going to go on a cruise. And you have a choice between the big mega ships.
Yep.
Right? The big, the Norwegian Cruise Line, the Royal Caribbean cruises, the big ships that are designed for families with younger kids or teenagers who want video arcades and bumper cars and all those kinds of things. So you can go to Alaska that way, and that's a great way to do it. Then there are kind of medium-sized cruise ships, Princess Cruises, Holland America Line, Celebrity Cruises. They would kind of be the big players in that space. Then there are the small ocean cruise ships, Regent Seven Seas that I just got back on.
Oh, okay.
Azamara Cruises, Viking Cruises, Oceana Cruises. They're going to have smaller ships, 700 to 1,000 passengers.
Okay.
And then there are the small expedition cruises that are 30 to 200 passengers.
Yeah.
So there is everything.
Yeah.
And when you get to your first port in Alaska, you'll see the spectrum of cruise ships.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, I'll talk to clients after they come back and they're like, oh, we were there and just sitting there having breakfast, and all of a sudden this monstrous, gigantic cruise ship came and docked in front of us, and we looked at each other and said, we made the right decision.
Right.
There is something for everyone, which is great, but it's easy to make a mistake and make the wrong choice.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that, especially folks. I just talked to some folks this week who had planned their own trip, and I said, how was it? And they're like, well, we were really disappointed because we went to this one port we really wanted to see. We were only in port for 4 hours from 8 p.m. to midnight.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, well, it does say that in the itinerary, but, well, we didn't really understand what that meant. And so, it's easy to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And with the cruises and then those cruise tours, which are the land portions of the trip where you can go to, like, Denali National Park or the Yukon. Princess Cruises has 8 ships in Alaska. They have 26 cruise tours in their brochure, and they have a couple top secret ones that aren't even in the brochure. They're not even there.
Like on the secret menu?
Secret menu, yeah, kind of the secret menu. So do the math and figure out how many options you have just on one cruise line.
Right.
And now you've got 12, 13, 14 cruise lines
in
Alaska. You've got tens of thousands of different options out there for you, and it's very easy to get confused.
Yeah.
And so that's where we can come in and help narrow your focus and get you on the right cruise for you.
Yeah.
Because I always say what's right for you may not be right for me, and vice versa.
Well, that's the beauty, again, of partnering with your team and having you guys be really those trusted advisors that can say, hey, what are you looking for? Not telling you, here's what you need to do, but what are you looking to do? What do you like to do? What interests you? And then all of a sudden you start working backwards, and away you go. You got a great trip planned.
Yeah. Well, it is funny because I'm often asked too the question of, what's your favorite cruise to Alaska?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yes. I mean, I don't know what the answer to that question is.
Right.
And if I answered it, I'd be doing you a disservice because it is going to depend on what you're specifically looking for.
For sure. For sure. Awesome. Did you want to talk some excursions? I think you had some new ones that we talked about a little off air, but I'd love to hear what excursions are kind of top of the list or top of mind for you right now.
Yeah. So this particular cruise that I was on the last time, and then I'll talk about the one I'm going to be on in 10 days, probably when this podcast comes out and folks can listen to it. So the cruise I was on was with Regent Seven Seas Cruises. And so Regent Seven Seas is an all-inclusive small ship luxury cruise line.
And when you say small ship, how large?
750 passengers.
Okay.
Yep. The ship is called the Seven Seas Splendor.
Love it.
Which is a beautiful, beautiful ship. If you are a member of a country club, that is exactly what this ship is like. It is like a floating country club.
Really?
And so for folks who that's the world in which you live, it's a perfect fit.
Yeah.
For folks who want that small ship experience, perfect fit. Even families. There were some families on there with kids, so good fit for them. The excursions are all included.
Ooh,
so in each port, you'll have a menu of shore excursions to choose from. Like I said, I shouldn't say all included, but the majority are included. There are some that do have an additional cost.
Sure.
If you're going to hop in a helicopter and fly up to a glacier, there will be an additional cost.
That's going to cost
for
a
that.
Yep.
For that. But we went to the port of Sitka, the port of Skagway, Juneau, Ketchikan.
Awesome.
So those are sort of the 4 top ports in Alaska that if you go to Alaska, you're going to hit 2 or 3 of those on every cruise you go to. And Skagway is probably my favorite city in Alaska. It's as far north as you can go in the Inside Passage.
Okay.
Where the Inside Passage ends. And it ends at a port where you can get off, and there is a train and a road that go into the Yukon Territory. Oh and if you actually want to drive up to the mainland of Alaska, you can do that. The ferry goes there as well. But this is the town that came about because of the Klondike Gold Rush.
Oh, yeah,
So much history there just to begin with. The downtown is a really beautiful, interesting, very historic downtown. And hearing the stories of the gold mine, or the gold rush, the Klondike Gold Rush, I can't talk here. Fascinating stories. But next time when I go, we're actually going to be traveling on a steam train, a steam engine, old-fashioned steam train that's going to take us up this historic railroad.
This says that's in Skagway.
In Skagway.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, up to the top of to the top of the White Pass.
Wow.
In the Yukon Territory. Then we'll turn around and come back.
How fun.
So amazing scenic route. I've done it before, but never with the steam engine. So I'm really looking forward to that. But this last time we went to the Iditarod dog kennels, I guess I would call it, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
And there is a gentleman there who's participated in the Iditarod for, I think, 25 or 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
And he's been a top 10 finisher.
Yeah.
And he breeds sled dogs. So you actually got a chance to hear the stories of the Iditarod, like, what is it? How does it work? I mean, I've heard of it, but I didn't really know too much about it.
Yeah, same.
And then you get to meet the dogs, and then they bring out the puppies.
Oh, boy.
So you actually get to kind of cuddle with the puppies, and so they're quite amazing creatures, these Iditarod sled dogs.
Yeah.
So really interesting. I'd been to Skagway a dozen times, never done that.
Okay.
And we went panning for gold as well.
Fun.
Yeah. And then afterwards, some friends who I was with went on a zip line. They
Fun.
did a zip line
Ooh,
tour
I love
there.
zip
So,
lines.
I'm not a good zip line candidate, but apparently you can do it if you're a bigger guy as well. But there was a chance to do some zip lining, which I thought was really, really
fun,
cool thing to do. I've done different hikes there, whitewater rafting. They have a historic downtown tour that's got like a guide dressed up as somebody from the Klondike Gold Rush, and so there's just a lot to do.
That's fun,
and it's a beautiful place, absolutely beautiful place. You can just sit there and watch the world go by.
I love
just
it.
Gorgeous.
I love it. I got 2 follow-ups that inquiring minds want to know. Did you find any gold? And tell me more about whitewater rafting, because I personally love it.
Everyone finds gold.
Oh.
And then they will take it and weigh it for you.
Oh.
I ended up with $12.47 worth of gold.
Let's go.
Somebody got $90. Apparently that was the most gold anybody found.
Wow.
But I got $12.
That's great.
A few cents.
Fun.
So, yeah. Yeah, apparently I probably shouldn't quit my day job to do that. And the whitewater rafting, there are 2 passes that start in Skagway and go into the Yukon.
Oh.
And they were sort of exploited for the first time when the gold rush happened.
Okay.
So the White Pass, these were all done by foot or with mules. The White Pass ended up being made into a railroad. The other trail is called the Chilkoot Trail.
Okay.
And so it is now just a national trail, like the Appalachian Trail, a national trail. And so we did about a 4-mile hike on the trail. And then at the end of the hike, got on a raft and went down a river, I think it's called the Chena River, that takes you basically back into Skagway.
Huh.
And it was a beautiful day, just absolutely gorgeous. The views are absolutely gorgeous. Not whitewater like in Colorado where you're hanging on for dear life.
Helmet.
There were some rapids, and we were kind of holding on, but just gorgeous. I mean, you're out and there's nobody else there. Nobody else even within the same.
That's awesome.
Nobody else rafting. There were 6 of us on a raft, and that was it. So it was really, 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 really neat.
How peaceful. What a great experience that had to have been. Just
it really was
amazing. Something about being in nature and just, especially on the water.
Oh, yeah.
And just like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah. And the great thing is, these excursions, these were all included. These were all choices you could have on this region cruise, but you can do more than one too. So we were able to do the gold mining, the puppies, and the zip lining. And it was all included. So there's no additional charge for that.
So that's an interesting thought when I think about cruises. And the one we were on, it was Princess. And so everything had a cost to it.
So the price does not include the excursion.
Yeah. And that was a big part of our equation as we were traveling on a budget and we wanted to be mindful of what we engaged with. And I could see it being really interesting to kind of run the numbers with like a Regent that has everything, 7 Seas that has everything included versus a Princess. And I don't know.
Yeah, and there are kind of two pricing models in cruising. There's an all-inclusive model and there's an a la carte model. And the a la carte model, the base price is going to be lower, but you keep adding on and you keep adding on. Right. And a lot of times people don't really realize this, but when you look at that all-included option, oftentimes the value quotient is a lot higher.
That's what I was just thinking.
So that's something that's really, I think, a piece of the discussion.
Yeah.
And then you have cruise lines that kind of fit in the middle, like Viking.
Okay.
Viking includes 1 excursion per port, and everybody takes the same excursion. Or you can purchase additional excursions. I mean, they're really good excursions, but it's 1, and then you get to choose other ones at an additional cost. So great options. I think it's one of those situations where you have to go into it having that conversation, or you're not going to know what you're going to end up with when all is said and done.
Right. Another reason to chat with you and your team.
Yeah.
Just like there's so much going on with these trips. It's just, it's amazing. I've heard some things where I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was part of the deal. Like these port things or whatever, where you're like, who knew?
Yeah. The other really cool excursion that I did for the first time was in Ketchikan.
Okay.
And Ketchikan is kind of the fishing capital of the Inside Passage. So there's a lot of fishing that happens there. And I've done different things there. I've gone to the Native American totem pole village.
We did that.
I've looked at the salmon spawning. We were there a little early for the salmon. I think next time they'll be spawning. We've done hikes on islands out in the bay.
Wow.
Well, this time we went on the deadliest catch shore excursion. And so there is a boat that was used on the deadliest catch.
Oh, I love
and
that show.
now it's been turned into a tour boat.
Okay.
And so not just a tour boat, not like a Gilligan's Island tour boat where you cruise around the harbor, but they've actually brought some retired fishermen on board.
Wow.
And they give fishing demonstrations. And so you learn how they fish for crab. You learn how they fish for salmon. You learn how they do all this kind of fishing. All those things you see on Deadliest Catch, they explain how it's really working.
Yeah.
And then the neatest thing, they have an agreement with the Native Alaskan tribe that has some of the islands out in the bay are essentially their property, their reservation. And so they don't allow commercial fishing or anything like that in their waters.
Okay.
But they have a deal to do these demonstration trips there. And there happens to be a point that you go by where there are several bald eagle nests. And Alaska is full of bald eagles.
For sure.
Like they're everywhere. Watch the kids because they're everywhere. And so as we round the point, the retired fisherman starts to throw pieces of fish bait up in the air, and the eagles come down, and you can actually see them grab it in the air and fly back
Oh my
to their
gosh.
nests. And, as far as you can toss a piece of fish in the air, they're right there. It was
How
absolutely amazing.
awesome.
Absolutely amazing. Never been that close to a bald eagle before. You see the talons and whoosh,
Right.
and then they'll throw them on the top of the water and they'll pick them up off the water. And the
Wow.
eagles are pretty smart, so I think they know the boat's coming when
Yeah,
they hear the
they're
chug,
like,
chug, 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 chug.
Here it comes.
But it was one of those things that I said, is this going to be so hokey touristy that
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, oh, this was really dumb? It was one of the neatest trips I've
That's
ever done.
fun.
It was absolutely amazing. So just so many different things you can do. In Juneau, we took a hike. And Ken, I'm not going to kid you. It was 5.5 mile hike. There was no down. It was like up, 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 up.
It's like my grandpa's story. Uphill
Pretty much
both ways.
through 10 feet of snow. But it was a gorgeous day, which made it perfect.
Yeah.
And we went to Mendenhall Glacier, which is the glacier that you can actually see from land in Juneau.
Yeah.
But instead of going to the visitor center, we hiked up the side and got to look down on the glacier from the top.
Really?
Amazing views.
Wow.
The guides would explain like all the different plants that you would see and stuff like that. So it was just an amazing experience. And I survived. So I survived a 5.5 mile hike.
You're here. Yep.
I'm still here. And it was actually really amazing. So the diversity of what you can do, these were all included.
Yeah.
The puppies, the hike, the deadliest catch, and so many more excursions. So, it was really, the excursions were well designed, well set up. The system to book them was pretty smooth. We made some changes on board, and we were able to do that.
Really? Okay.
And in Alaska, there isn't unlimited space on excursion.
Sure.
There are only so many people you can take on a hike.
Sure.
Only so many puppies to cuddle, things like that. And so it did work out really, really well.
Yeah.
And I would say, if folks are thinking about a small ship cruise to Alaska, that's a great option.
The
We'd love
Regent
to
Seven
chat-
Seas.
We'd love to chat with folks about that. The
Yeah.
different land programs they have beforehand that I think are really, really unique as well.
So, quick fun fact. So, one of my best friends from high school, his wife was on Facebook asking about professionals that know anything about Alaska cruises.
Okay.
And I sent her Shannon's info that works with you, and so they connected up, and so they went on a Regent Seven Seas.
Yep.
And I talked to him later, and he's a guy who's pretty level-headed. He doesn't get too high, too low. He was like, that was unbelievable. The stuff that they did, and they upgraded some things. They did the helicopter deal, and they did some pretty epic deals. But he said the excursions that were included, he was like on, and I'm like, wow. Yeah. It's one of those things where when your buddy who you know real well is all coming back like
answer.
Fired up.
Yeah.
I'm like, so anyway.
Yeah,
I'm ready to go on a Regent Seven Seas.
Yeah. No, it was
hint.
Yeah,
we gotta figure that out.
It was great. And it's not for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And that's the neat thing, is that there are other great options as well.
That's right.
There was somebody I know who was actually on the same week I was there. She was on virtually the same cruise with Princess Cruises.
Okay.
And so I had a chance to talk to her. We were on the same flight home. So we had a chance to kind of chit-chat.
Mm-hmm.
She actually sat next to me. I'm like, okay, that's stalkerish. No.
Right. Did you plan this?
Did
you ask for this?
But it was just interesting to get her perspective on it as well. And, I think Regent would have been maybe not. That's not the type of environment they wanted. They like the big ship. They like some of the things you can do on the bigger ship. And, Princess was the first company to operate in Alaska. And so they did exactly what you and I would do. They took all the best stuff.
For sure.
So they have the best docks. They have the best lodges. They own the train cars they use when you travel between Denali National Park. And so they had a phenomenal experience. They got to see Denali National Park for like 3 days. Wow. Or Mount Denali for 3 days, which you never do. And it's a larger group experience, more cost effective, a cheaper price. And they had a great time as well. And they were with some friends, and it was just a great experience. And so, like I said, there's no right answer for everyone. They were probably a little more timid in terms of the excursions they did, so they wouldn't have gone for a hike or something like that. I mean, they're older as well. And so it was just good to hear, kind of how they had literally the same itinerary we did and what they did differently.
Right.
And it was kind of funny because her husband was just, I don't need a balcony. Don't need a balcony. Don't need a balcony. We're never in our room.
Right.
And, if I had a penny for every time her heard that, we'd be driving Maseratis.
Nice.
And so he's like, yeah, I'm so glad I insisted on a balcony. Sure. Because, we were out there. We'd get out there when we were sailing with the glaciers and order a cup of coffee and just sit there and relax and watch it. It was great. It was great. I'm like, I'm glad you insisted.
I love that. I love that.
So
I would echo that. That was some of the best time for me when I was on the ship, was sitting on the balcony with a fancy coffee.
Yep.
And just relaxing.
Wrapped up in a blanket, just enjoying.
The cozy little blanket, and just like watching everything.
Yeah, and one of the neat things about the glaciers, too, is that we went to Hubbard Glacier.
Oh, yeah.
Which is an amazing, it's the 5-mile wide glacier.
Got it.
When you fly into Anchorage, if you look down from the airplane, you'll see it. You'll fly over it.
Really?
You fly over the Alaskan range, which is like first scenic highlight of your trip.
Yeah.
Open the shade and look down.
Yeah.
But it was kind of foggy on the ocean. And that's pretty typical because the ocean is so cold. And even if it's only 60 degrees, it creates kind of that ocean fog that San Francisco has and places like that. Well, when you get close to the glacier, it creates its own weather.
Right.
So you start to sail in and you're like, ooh, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, beautiful bright sun.
That's
and
awesome.
just beautiful. We got really close to the glacier. We saw some eagles. We saw some bears on land. So bring your binoculars.
Yeah.
But there is just everywhere you turn, there's something to see.
Have you either done this or talked to someone who has like been close to the glacier, either in a small like Zodiac or kayak or smaller boat? You have.
Yes. And so that's a great segue to talk about kind of those expedition type cruises.
Yeah.
And Glacier Bay is another area where you can go to view glaciers, and some cruises go there. Most don't.
Okay.
Actually, they only allow 2 ships per day. So in a week, only 14 ships can ever go into Glacier Bay. So it's very, very exclusive. Princess and Holland America, the 2 sister companies, have the majority of the permits to go into Glacier Bay. So it's a very exclusive experience just to see it from the decks of a cruise ship.
And that's the park, right? It's
the
like a
national park.
Got it.
So they do a great job. They bring on the park ranger. Instead of you going to the visitor center, the visitor comes to you.
Yeah.
Really cool experience. But some of the small ship expedition cruises, the 30, 40, 50 passenger ships, they might spend 2 or 3 days in the park itself.
Wow.
So you're going to get to go very close to the glaciers, and you can actually get off. You can go on a Zodiac. You can go kayaking. You're not going to go super close because if one of those big chunks of the glaciers that's 34 stories tall calves off and you're in a kayak, you're toast. But they know how to do it in a way that's very, very safe.
Yeah.
But then they'll also just nudge up to the land, put the gangplank down, and you'll get off and go for a hike.
Oh,
so you may have seen the glacier front and center, but you're also going to get a chance to walk around. And the ecology, the natural history in Glacier Bay, it's got to be one of those top 5 in the world places to go.
Huh.
And so if that's you,
love it.
If seeing nature like that, if getting out there on the water and kayaking or paddleboarding and things like that, if that's your thing, there are some great options in Alaska.
That's awesome.
And if that's not your thing, but you still want to go on a really small ship, one of the coastal cruise companies in the United States has coastal cruises in Alaska. They typically leave from Juneau.
Okay.
But they're going to visit the very, very small towns.
Interesting.
But they're not expeditions. You're not going to get out on a kayak. You're not going to get on a hike. But you go to some of these towns that nobody ever goes to.
Right.
And so, again, just everything is in Alaska. And it's funny because I'll talk to people who plan trips themselves, and they'll say, well, I picked this cruise, and I thought it was the only option out there. And I'm just like, oh, that's so sad because, and they probably had a fine time.
I'm sure they had fun.
And I'll meet them, and I'm like, that's not for you. Right. You should have done it differently. And so many of these options, people don't even know that they exist.
There was another one that an excursion that I looked at that we did not do that I want to get on my docket next time I go to Alaska, and it's seeing the whales. And we did see, like, we were looking off our balcony one time, and I saw the where they blow the water, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But I'd love to be on a smaller boat in an area where there are moms and their calves or whatever. I think that's how it goes, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to see it. Have you been on an excursion like that?
I have. And it's so cool, and you can almost hear the whales breathing, and you see them diving and stuff like that. I mean, it is amazing. And these things are huge.
Right.
I mean, the size of a Greyhound bus.
Right.
These whales are not small. And they're all unique. So each of their tails has different markings on it. So the guides who run the tours know the names of the whales.
Oh, so they have
I don't know if the whales will answer if they say, "Hey Ken, come here." If you come, or the whale that they've nicknamed Ken comes. But and Juneau is a great place to go whale watching.
Juneau, okay.
It's a very target-rich environment.
Okay.
There's also a kind of a secondary cruise port called Icy Strait Point, and it's actually straight across from the entrance to Glacier Bay.
Okay.
And the Icy Strait is a body of water that connects the Pacific Ocean with the Inside Passage.
Oh.
And it's called the Icy Strait because in the winter it gets icy.
Yeah.
It doesn't freeze, but it gets icy. And whales come in and out that way. So that's also a super, super target-rich whale watching place.
Wow.
And one time I was in the pool on the ship after my excursion, and all of a sudden everybody started running to the rail. I'm like, well, I guess I better get up. So I went up there, and there were 3 whales just kind of frolicking right by 100 feet off the edge of the ship. Oh my gosh. Just kind of frolicking. And this time we saw a lot of porpoises.
Really?
I don't know that I've ever seen quite that many porpoises. Yeah. And that's one of the things that the deeper understanding of Alaska, certain itineraries travel through a lot of the scenic places in daylight, and others do it at night.
Okay.
And so that's part of the decision to make, to not miss all the scenic views. Now, no cruise will give you everything.
Yeah.
But some are better than others.
Interesting.
Certainly.
Interesting. That's awesome. We're getting close on time here. You want to wrap with anything or any kind of final
hardly even
thoughts?
talked about food. I mean, my goodness. Alaskan,
yeah, wait a minute. Yeah,
Alaskan food.
Heck?
Holy cow. Lots of options for Alaskan local food and drink and all that good stuff. And we might have to do a special episode just focused on that. But I will say this about Alaska.
Yeah.
It fills up fast. Right now, as we're talking here in the summer of 2025, 2026 has been on sale.
Yeah.
A lot of the best cabins are full.
Okay.
And once we hit Labor Day 2025, that's when the peak booking season for Alaska will really begin.
Okay.
So now is a very good time to plan. If you wait, it's going to start to be in the scramble for space. 2027 for some cruise lines is already available. Other cruise lines, it's coming out in the next week or two.
Okay.
So if you're thinking a little further ahead, or if you're thinking about a multi-generational family, which is a huge thing in Alaska, grandma and grandpa maybe want to bring the kids, the grandkids along.
Yeah.
Really good time to be thinking about that for 2027.
Okay.
Because the school calendars and stuff are going to be out already. And, a lot of times with families, you want to try to find rooms that are close to each other, or maybe a balcony across the hall from an inside cabin.
Yeah.
And, as more and more cabins on the ship sell, less and less options for that as well. And some of the cruise lines have some great promotions for kids as well. So really good time to be thinking about those types of trips for 2026, certainly, but also for 2027.
That's awesome.
So plan ahead for Alaska is my final piece of advice.
That is awesome.
Guess.
I love it. And is it, does it set up like that in your experience? Is it kind of like the Labor Day, it starts to peak, and then has it got tougher to book these as kind of Alaska as more people are finding out about it? Has it kind of ramped up a little bit?
I think it is. I think the best stuff sells out even earlier than in the past.
Wow.
And, some of the cruise lines for 2026 may be totally sold out already, believe it or not, especially those smaller ship cruises.
Right.
They can sell out pretty quickly. And so that's why this stuff becomes available, because, I want to go in 2026. There's nothing really left that I want. Well, let's look at 2027 and do something different in 2026.
Well, and it's funny how quick, a year seems like a long time, or a year and a half. But you know what? As I get older, and I'm 50 something now, years click by.
They do kind of go fast.
And if you got a trip, I love the trip anticipation, right?
Absolutely.
There's just nothing better. And I think about, like, I'm mentally thinking, like, what if Shannon and I book something for 27? Wouldn't that be fun to have all of next year to like anticipate it and kind of talk about it? And
absolutely.
I don't know.
And you see an article about it, or you see a video about it. Oh my God, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does, I think, enrich the experience. To me, the last minute, it's like, I couldn't figure out what to do, so let me try to grab something. And, some people just, that's how their lives work. But I think if you get it on the books far enough in advance, it does give you that joy of anticipation, which is really part of travel.
Something to be said about that
as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm Ken Conan on TED Talks Travel. This is our expert, as always, Mr. Ted Blank. Thanks for joining us. Tell us, as we wrap here, how, of course, like and subscribe below, but how do we get a hold of you and your team?
Yeah, so I should actually say that my team, I have one of my requirements for them is they all have to go to Alaska. So they've all been to Alaska. I know, rough gig. But they do have to go to Alaska. So everyone has been there. So we're all experts in Alaska. But you can visit tedblanktravel.com. You can contact us. You can schedule an appointment. Or you can call our office at 651-964-8245. And one of us would be happy to help plan your next Alaskan adventure.
Love it. Thanks for joining me. As always, again, like and subscribe below. All the details that Ted just shared, if you just missed those are also below in the details. Thanks for joining me, sir. We'll see you next week.
All right.